I am Harsh Marathe from St. GS Medical College and KEM Hospital, and I welcome you to Quizathon 1.0, which is taken for the first year MBBS students of St. GSMC and KEMH. So welcome to the finale. Before starting, I would like to thank Abdullah Siddiqui, who is Senior Secretary of Academic Department, for providing necessary technical help and allowing us to conduct this Quizathon 1.0. I would also like to thank Kshitish Pawar for taking the job of timekeeper, and the quiz masters for this quiz are Ameya Ambike, Paras Arora, Debayan Banerjee, Siddhant Kamre, myself Harsh Marathe, and Prashant Saraf. So, after taking a Google form based quiz, we have our 5 finalists, and we have taken a random experiment method to number them. The first finalist is Kunika Patel, second Maurya Patel, third Dheya Mishra, fourth Pranay Sinha, 5 Aditi Gaikwad. At this point, I will like if you guys unmute yourself and tell your short introduction, like what's your name and from where you are, so that we also know that your mics are working and we will also know you guys. So Kunika, you can start. Hello.
Am I audible?
Are you there?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would request every finalist to please put the video mode on, and you have to keep this for the whole finale.
Yeah. May I?
Yes, you can proceed.
Yeah. So myself Kunika Jayesh Patel, and I am from Nasik.
Okay. Maurya?
I am Maurya Patel from Gujarat, Bhavnagar.
Okay. Dheya?
Dheya Mishra, Kalyan.
Okay. Pranay?
Pranay Sinha from New Bombay.
Okay. And Aditi?
Aditi Gaikwad from Mumbai.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Now I'll explain you the roadmap of this quiz, which is Quizathon 1.0 finale. You are the 5 contestants and we'll be taking 5 rounds. Round 1, which is Diagnose It, will be taken by Ameya Ambike. And the first question of this round will be given to the participant number 1, which is Kunika, and then we'll proceed in the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For round 2, which is Imagery, taken by Paras Arora, we will proceed in the sequence 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. For round 3, we will start with participant number 3. And round 3 is Give Examples, and it will be conducted by Debayan Banerjee. Round 4, which is Multiple True or False round, we will start with participant number 4 and then proceed in that fashion. That will be taken by Siddhant Kamre. And final round, which will be taken by me, is Rapid Fire round, and we will start from participant number 5 and then proceed in the manner 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you guys should remember your numbers, because even if we take mistake, the questions will be asked in the sequential manner only. So I guess we can start with
Can I ask
round 1.
Thing?
Yes.
So when there is round 1 and you ask the first participant the first question, the rest of them we have to wait for our chance or what?
Yes. The rules for each round will be explained to you properly before the round starts.
Okay.
And when the question is being asked to one participant, we request all others to keep their mics on mute and unmute only when the question is asked. Is that clear?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So Amey, you can take from here on. Hello.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So this is our round 1. Diagnose it. The rules will be as follows. A case would be read out to each finalist. After that, exactly 45 seconds will be given to you to give the answer. Your first answer would be considered whether it will be correct or whether it will be wrong. The questions will not be passed to any other finalist, and for every correct answer, you will get plus 10. And for an incorrect answer, you will get 0 directly. There is no negative marking. So I hope these rules are clear. If there are any doubts, you can please ask right now. No doubts? Okay, then we'll proceed further.
Maurya, please unmute your mic.
So our first finalist is Kunika Patel. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Okay. Harsh, next slide. A 30-year-old woman enters the emergency room complaining of nausea, severe abdominal pain, and prolonged constipation. She appeared distraught and was sweating. She described beginning an extremely low-calorie diet within the past 2 months in an attempt to lose weight. Next. Physical examination determined rapid heart rate, moderate hypertension, and weakness in the extremities. Also noted were mild dermatitis of blistering on her hands and scarring on her face. Laboratory tests revealed elevated urinary PBG and porphobilinogen and coproporphyrin and plasma fluorescence emission at 626 nanometer. What is the probable diagnosis? Your time starts now.
It's PCT, that is Porphyria cutanea tarda.
I am afraid that's the wrong answer.
I think it's
Next
correct.
slide. No, sorry. The answer is variegate porphyria. The clue here being that there is a fluorescence emission at 626 nanometer, which is characteristic of protoporphyrinogen 9. And as you know, in variegate porphyria, the deficient enzyme is protoporphyrinogen oxidase. Hence, the characteristic
Okay.
626 nanometer emission that you get is the diagnostic tool in this case. So
Got it,
I'm
got
sorry,
it.
but you get 0 marks for this.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. Mr. Maurya Patel, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Marathi, next slide. A 27-year-old male presented to the emergency department with the signs and symptoms of acute appendicitis. He was promptly sent to the operating room for an emergency appendicectomy. The patient was prepped and draped for the surgery, and halothane, which is an anesthetic, was given. 2 minutes after the anesthetic was given, the patient was noted to have an extremely elevated temperature, muscle rigidity, and tachypnea. Next slide. An ABG revealed a metabolic acidosis and the serum electrolytes demonstrated hyperkalemia. A nurse quickly went to talk to the family about the events, and the family mentioned that the only other person to have surgery in their family had a similar reaction and died. What is the probable diagnosis? Your time starts now.
Time up.
Yeah, time up. Sorry. Maurya also gets 0 for this question. The answer to this question is malignant hyperthermia. It is caused by a defect in the ryanodine 1 receptor, which, as you people might know, is involved in the EC coupling, ryanodine and receptor and dihydropyridine receptor. So, a defect in this receptor causes the abnormal muscle contraction in response to the administration of anesthetic. The drug of choice, which you will learn in second year, is dantrolene, which is a peripheral skeletal muscle relaxant in this case.
Okay.
Okay, moving to the next question. Mr. Deya Mishra, are you ready?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Marathi.
Hello, was Dheya audible to you?
Hello.
Yeah, Deya was audible to me. Yeah, he's
Okay.
audible. Please bring the next slide. So here's your case. A 3-year-old Caucasian boy is brought to the clinic for a chronic productive cough, not responding to antibiotics given recently. He has no fever or sick contacts. His medical history is significant for abdominal distension, failure to pass stool, and emesis as an infant. He continues to have bulky, foul-smelling stools. No diarrhea is present. Next. He has several relatives with chronic lung and stomach problems, and some have even died at a young age. The examination reveals an ill-appearing slender male in moderate distress. The lung exam reveals poor air movement in the base of the lungs bilaterally and coarse rhonchi throughout both lung fields. A chloride sweat test was performed and was positive. What is the probable diagnosis? Your time starts now.
Previous slide, please. Next slide. Cystic fibrosis.
That's correct. You get plus 10. So, cystic fibrosis is basically a condition involved due to a mutation in CFTR, that is cystic fibrosis transmembrane regulator protein. It is a chloride channel. So, because this channel is deficient, there is no movement of chloride ions which would occur at the normal sites, causing the classical symptoms, which, as you know, might be pancreatitis, failure of the mucociliary escalator, etc., which, if not treated promptly, will lead to death at an early age. So next participant, Mr. Pranav Sinha, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Marathi, next slide. So here's your case. A 17-year-old male presents complaining of an inability to perform strenuous exercise without bringing on painful muscle cramps and weakness. He indicated that mild to moderate exercise resulted in no problems. When he was administered an ischemic exercise test, his serum lactate concentrations did not increase significantly. What is the diagnosis? Your time starts now.
Yeah, I guess Kshitij told this.
Yeah, time up. Yeah. So, Pranav, I'm sorry, but you get 0 points as well for this question.
Okay.
The answer to this question is McArdle's disease, that is a defect in muscle glycogen phosphorylase. So, characteristically, a patient of McArdle's disease will always present with this issue that whenever there is any strenuous exercise, he will feel cramps and there will be lactic acidosis. But mild to moderate exercise will not be able to differentiate this case. An interesting point is that if you add hemolytic anemia to his symptoms, you get a disease called Tarawi's disease, which is due to a defect in muscle phosphofructokinase. Okay, problem. Okay, so our final participant, Aditi Gaikwad, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Next slide. Here's your case. A 30-month-old child presents with coarse facial features, corneal clouding, hepatosplenomegaly, and exhibiting disproportionate short trunk dwarfism. Radiographic analysis indicates enlargement of the diaphysis of the long bones and irregular metaphysis, along with poorly developed epiphyseal centers. Other skeletal abnormalities typify the features comprising dysostosis multiplex. Next slide. The child's physical stature and the analysis of bone development indicate the child is suffering from which disorder? Your time starts now.
Time up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you get 0 points as well for this question. The answer is Hurler's disease, which is a mucopolysaccharidosis. It is due to a defect in the enzyme alpha L iduronidase. So, classically, the presentation of this disease is called as gargoylism because gargoyles were statues which were built in medieval Europe during the Gothic period, and the appearance of the child due to his coarse facial features is similar to that of a gargoyle. So this disease is also known as gargoylism. Remaining corneal clouding, hepatosplenomegaly are also classical presentations, which will help you differentiate this disease from the other mucopolysaccharidosis. So with that, we come to an end of round one. At the end of this round, only participant three, that is Deya Mishra, has scored 10 marks. Remaining are all yet to open their accounts. With that, I hand it over to Paras. Thank you.
We have one audience question.
Yeah, I am sorry. We have an audience question, and I would request the remaining audience to give the answer to this question in the comment section. So here's your question. A 40-year-old obese female presented to the emergency center with complaints of worsening nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. Her pain is located in the mid-epigastric area and right upper quadrant. She reports a subjective fever and denies diarrhea. Her pain is presently constant and sharp in nature, but previously with intermittent and cramping only after eating greasy foods. Next slide. On examination, she has a temperature of 37.8 degrees Celsius with otherwise normal vital signs. She appears ill and in moderate distress. She has significant mid-epigastric and right upper quadrant tenderness. Some guarding is present but no rebound. Her abdomen is otherwise soft with no distension and active bowel sounds. Laboratory values were normal except for increased liver function test, white blood cell count, and serum amylase. Next slide. Ultrasound of the gallbladder revealed numerous gallstones and a thickening of the gallbladder wall. A surgery consult was immediately sought. What is the probable diagnosis? The audience have exactly 45 seconds to type the answer in the chat section.
And audience are not in the competition, so you can of course make guesses.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The answer is acute cholecystitis. So as you cholecystitis, that is accumulation of stones in the bile duct. And you can remember Courvoisier's law, which is quite important in this case. And of course, cases of obstructive jaundice have a huge application in the medical field, right from your exam point of view to a clinical point of view. So do read these topics properly. So with that, I end my round and hand it over to Paras. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amar. So round one, yes. Okay, am I visible? Yeah. So round one was diagnosis. Now we'll
I think
start
your
with
video is not on, Paras.
Is it on now?
No, it's on.
It's on. It's on.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, we have done with diagnose. Now we'll start with imagery. So these are the rules. Listen carefully. An image will be shown and the related two questions would be read out to each finalist. Okay, the questions will be read out and one image will be shown. After that, 45 seconds will be given to answer. Okay, next slide. Now, please remember that your first answer will be considered. Be very careful by answering. And you will get 5 marks for each correct answer and 0 for incorrect. There is no negative marking. So for example, there are 2 questions. If you answer only one, then you'll get +5. If you answer both, you'll get +10. Okay? Is everyone clear?
Yes.
No doubt? Okay, so let's start. Maurya, second participant, right? Are you ready?
Yes. I'm ready.
Okay, so here we go. Identify the condition and state the defect. Your time starts now.
The defect is of anterior abdominal wall. That's the only answer.
Time up.
Okay, so yes, you have said one answer correct and one's wrong. You have not attempted the first question. It's okay. So let's see the answer. The answer is prune belly syndrome, also called as Eagle-Barrett syndrome. It's due to partial or complete absence of abdominal musculature. So yes, Maurya, you have said correct that it's due to defects in the anterior abdominal wall. So you will get +5. And do you want, like, anyone else wants to try, like, what other feature in this? What are the other features seen in this syndrome? Anyone? Any finalists? No. Okay. So the abdominal wall is usually very thin, so the organs are visible and easily palpable. And the defect is sometimes associated with malformations of the urinary tract as well as bladder. So there can be urethral obstruction also, and they can cause accumulation of fluid in the belly, and there will be distension of the abdomen. So yeah, this is prune belly syndrome. Now, next participant, Jay Mishra. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start. Identify the slide and give 2 locations where you will find such a tissue. Your time starts now.
Cartilage.
You have to be more specific.
Elastic.
Time up.
It's wrong. I'm sorry, you're wrong there. It's not elastic cartilage. Answer, please. Okay, so here you can see this is white fibrocartilage. As the collagen is arranged in the order, like you can see the fibroblast and the collagen in the same line. And there is no elastin tissue. Elastin will be like, there will be wavy stringy lines in elastin. It's clear almost. So 2 major places. Okay, you can find fibrocartilage and pubic symphysis, manubrious sternal joint, IVDs, that is intervertebral joint, knee menisci, articular disc of TMJ, that is temporomandibular joint, acetabular and glenoid labrum. Okay, remember that the membranous bones, they have their cartilage as fibrocartilage and not the usual non-articular hyaline cartilage. So yeah, this was question 2. So you get no points in this question for this question. Let's go for with participant 4, Pranay, right? Yeah, Pranay Sena. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. Identify the syndrome in which we see the ever smiling face. It is a classical example of which phenomenon in genetics? And your time starts now.
Is the phenomena translocation of genes? I don't know about the syndrome.
No. I'm sorry, you're wrong.
Time up.
Okay, so let's go to the answer. So this is Angelman syndrome, also called as happy puppet syndrome. You can see the typical laughing face, smiling face in the image, and So in this syndrome, there is a microdeletion of the maternal chromosome 15. Microdeletion of maternal chromosome 15 of long arm of chromosome 15. And you can remember this like angel is female and maternal also female. So remember this like that, angel man, maternal. And the defect is here you can see the answer for second two is genomic imprinting. Now what is genomic imprinting? Anyone? Does anyone know? Who can answer? Genomic imprinting. So like, okay, fine. This phenomenon is like when there is differential modification or expression of homologous allele or chromosome regions depending on the parent from whom the genetic material is transferred, is derived from. So that thing is called as genomic imprinting. So like from maternal side or paternal side. So like in case of paternal microdeletion, the syndrome will be Prader-Willi. So here maternal is there, therefore angel man, and the character feature you will see is the smiley face. Okay. Now let's go to next question. Next participant. Okay. So Aditi Gaikwad, you're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start. Identify the slide and give two hormones secreted by the concerned structure. And your time starts now.
Is it the thyroid gland?
No, I'm sorry, wrong. So let's see the answer. The answer is placenta. See, placenta has two sides, right? The maternal side as well as the fetal side. The fetal side will be lined by cuboidal epithelium. There will be chorionic plate, and then the villi will be seen. There are primary villi, secondary villi, and tertiary villi. So you can see the tertiary villi and the primary, some are primary also. So these are the characteristic findings you will see in this histology. And hormones which are secreted, obviously everyone knows hormones, the estrogen, progesterone, HCG, and HCS is human chorionic somatomammotropin. It is also called as human placental lactogen. So they have replaced the term to HCS. Okay, so remember that. Yeah. So this is placenta. You can read the features and all. थोड़ा याद रहेगा उससे. From the back, वो पीछे micronat की book है ना. You can see from there. And obviously थोड़ा confusing होता है ये placenta का. तो नहीं आया चलता है अभी क्या बताएं. Now let's go to the final participant, Kunika Patel. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, so let's start. Identify the condition and tell the defect. And your time starts now.
Is it gastrocele?
Can you repeat?
Gastrocele?
No, I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's not gastrocele.
Omphalo maybe.
You're thinking right, but you're saying the wrong word.
Omphalocele.
No, you're wrong. Yeah. Let's see the answer. It's not called it's gastrocytosis.
Yeah, right. My bad.
So there's a defect in the anterior abdominal wall, and as a result, the intestinal loops herniate into the amniotic cavity, but is not enclosed by the amniotic sac. And generally, the defect to the right side. And yeah, so it's gastric cyst.
Yeah, my bad.
Gastrocele nahi hai.
Like, if it was omphalocele, can you tell what would have been there, which would have
Like
So,
there was,
given you
there would
the-
have been amniotic, like this
Yes,
covering
yes.
must have been there. and here it is
Yes,
not
yes.
there. So like gastrocele and gastritis, like somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, it's not gastrosteel. Remember that word is
Yeah.
Okay, so after these 5 rounds, only Moria has scored +5, and rest all have not scored. And now we have a round for the audience. Let's see. So identify the condition and tell the defect. You can write your answers, and your time starts now. You have 45 seconds. Type in the comment box.
Sirenomelia.
Yes, Devansh, you're right. It's mermaid syndrome, and Ram Kandoy, you're right for the defect, caudal dysgenesis. It is Sirenomelia. Let's see the answer. Sirenomelia, also called as mermaid syndrome, caused by the caudal dysgenesis or regression. It's also like it's not abhi confirmed nahi hai, but it is an extended bacterial syndrome ka part. And there are some theories, vascular theory and all. So abhi it's not at all confirmed abhi, but still research is going on. You all can search about if you want. Now that's for round 2. Let's check the scores till now. Right?
Prashant, can you tell us the scores?
Yes. So Dhey Mishra leads with the score of +10. Then second is Maurya with +5. And remaining all 3 participants, Kunika, Pranay, and Aditi, they have 0.
So are we clear?
Does
Let's
anyone
proceed.
want
Participants?
Anyone wants a break for water or something? Like washroom water break.
Okay.
Everyone's fine? We can.
So we can go to third round. I request Deban to take over.
Yeah, thanks, Harsh. So after 2 clinically heavy rounds, we now move on to a relatively simple round. The round says give examples. So basically, it's all based on your recall power here. It's just your ability to recall and tell clear-cut, concise examples. That's what I'm looking from you guys in this round. A quick look at the rules. A question will be read out, and after that, 30 seconds will be given for you to answer that question. The question asks 2 correct examples for that. So the questions are framed in such a way that wherein you will be asked giving examples of things. So if you give 2 correct examples, that will fetch you +10. Otherwise, you get a 0. Please note that if you give 1 example, you won't get any partial marks. So you get +10 only under the condition that you answer or give rather both the examples, and there is no negative marking, so don't have to worry about that. So we move on. We start with participant number 3, Dhey Mishra. Are you ready?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Harsh, the next. The question is, name the 2 major anions present in the ECF or the extracellular fluid. Your time starts now.
Chloride,
Yes.
bicarbonate.
Yes, you're correct. You get +10. Would you like to have a try at the concentrations if you remember?
No.
Okay. So I'll just tell it here. Chloride generally has a concentration of around 95 to 105. Bicarbonate around 22 to 24. You don't have to remember that. You mostly have it given in any question or vignettes if you get any. So that's what good. That was good there. So we now move on to the next participant, who is participant number 4, Pranay Sinha. We can have the next slide. I hope you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, ask the next. So your question is, give 2 examples of muscular arteries. Your time starts now.
Schema.
A general histology question.
Is it the carotid artery and second one?
Time up.
No, you had to be a little more specific with carotid, but you have given one, so I'm afraid you don't get any points here. You get a 0. The answer, please. So this is the list of muscular arteries. So basically, based on the histology of arteries, we basically classify them as two major types of arteries, which is the elastic arteries and the muscular arteries. So a basic, a funda which you can remember is that the elastic arteries are majorly the ones which stem from the heart, the great vessels and its larger subdivisions, like the aorta, the subclavian artery, the common carotid artery. And as the vasculature branches down in your body, you get these muscular arteries. And just a tip for your practical exams, when you have a slide of a muscular artery given in your exam, if you're not able to identify it based on the classic histologic features, which more amount of a smooth muscle than the elastic fibers and a wavy incline and elastic lamina, always know that it's always with the slide of the vein with it. So that's a sort of hack which you can use to identify that slide in case you're not able to get it in your practical exams. A quick look at the examples. You can have the brachial artery in the arm, the ulnar artery and the radial artery in the forearm. You learn when you learn upper limb. The femoral artery and popliteal artery in the lower limb, external carotid of the neck, cerebral arteries in the brain, and your coronary arteries. So I hope it was clear, Pranay. So we now move on to the next participant, who is participant number 5, Aditi Gaikwad. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we can have the question. The question says, give 2 examples of arteries in the lower limb which are commonly palpated to measure pulse rate. Your time starts now.
Popliteal artery and dorsalis pedis.
Exactly. Very good. You get +10 for this. So this is a list of arteries in the lower limb which is commonly palpated on the clinical setting to get an idea of the pulse. That is the posterior tibial artery, which is palpated posterior to the medial malleolus and the tendoachilles. The dorsalis pedis, as you all know, a popular viva question, palpated over the intermediate cuneiform bone over the dorsum of the foot. The popliteal artery over the popliteal fossa is a little difficult to palpate as compared to the others, that it is deep seated. And your femoral artery, which is higher up in your thigh, which you palpate it against the mid-inguinal point. So this is a list of 4 arteries which you can palpate and measure pulse rate with. So you can have a note of this. So we now move on to the next participant, participant number 1, Kunika Patel. You're ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have the question for you. Harsh. So your question says, name any 2 structures piercing the perineal membrane in females. Your time starts now. It would be good if you could give some major structures. I would appreciate that.
So there's this urethral artery which penetrates the perineal membrane and the vaginal arteries as well.
No, you have to be a little more specific.
So
any
like
structures, any you're partially right about the vasculature, but I was hoping a little better answer. We can have the answer, Harsh. You get a 0 for this, I'm sorry. So the answer I was expecting is that urethra and vagina, these are 2 very common structures which pass through the perineal membrane in females. So I was hoping an answer around this line. You were little right about the arteries, but it's not the artery to the urethra or vagina. It's the dorsal and deep artery to the clitoris.
yeah, but then the branches, like it has got the branches. So like I was talking about that.
These arteries pierce the membrane, so I would be more happy if you could give that. Urethra or vagina, you could have told because they are very obvious answers. So no issues. Other structures, artery to the bulb of vestibule, posterior labial vessels and nerves, muscular branches of the pudendal nerve. These are minor structures which pierce, but majorly if you see in females, it's the urethra and vagina, and when it comes to males, you have the urethra and the duct of the Cowper's gland or the bulbourethral gland. So that's one difference between male and female. So I hope you keep a note of this. Yes, the vasculature, we were partially right, but I cannot give points for that. I'm sorry. If we move on to the next participant, Maurya, you are ready?
Yes, sir, ready.
Okay, we can have the question. So your question says, give 2 examples of any 2 amino acids which will give a positive xanthoprotic test. Your time starts now. Practical based question.
Um, uh,
Yes.
Tyrosine and phenylalanine.
Yes, you're exactly
Time
right.
up.
Very good. You get plus 10 for this. So basically, xanthoprotic test is a test which is used to detect the aromatic amino acids. So your list of aromatic amino acids is, as you have correctly said, phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan as well. So basically the test involves, keeping your test solution with concentrated nitric acid, and you basically get a yellow precipitate in this case. So that's just the basic workup of the test. You don't have to remember the concentrations or values as such. So that would be it. We conclude round 3. Quick question for the audience. So the audience out there, your question says, give any 2 physiologic causes of neutrophilia. Your time starts now. Would I be happy to see some responses in the chat? I asked for physiological. Chirag. Anyone? At least one, if not all. You have a list of 4-5 causes. You can take a guess. That's what I'm sure. You don't have marks to lose here.
Deban, give them a guess.
Okay. I can tell you that it increases under conditions of stress. So anything you can think of on a similar line. Even the finalists are welcome to answer if they know of any causes. You can unmute yourself and answer. But I would be happy if I get some responses from the audience watching this quiz.
Dehydration.
Yeah, that causes hemoconcentration. Yeah, you're partially right. Any other thing? A very common thing. I'm expecting a very common answer. I gave the term stress. You can use that as a clue. We always subject our body to stress in this thing we do. At least most of us do. Okay,
Physical
so
stress.
I guess.
Come on.
I guess I'll reveal the answers now. I guess we are taking up time. So what I was trying and getting an answer was exercise. Exercise is a thing which we subject our body to a stress, which basically is a cardiovascular and a respiratory stress, not an extreme degree of stress, but we have our metabolic demands increasing in the body. So in that case, we do subject our body to stress. And as someone said, you have dehydration occurring and you get hemoconcentration. That can also contribute to the neutrophilia which is seen. So some other causes, newborns generally have a higher white blood cell count, which tends to gradually decrease as the child ages. You have a higher neutrophil count after meals, pregnancy, menstruation and lactation, and physical and emotional stress. So I guess stress is the key word here. It causes an increase in the count. You don't have to know the mechanisms in detail. But these are, just a list of conditions, wherein you can be asked in your physiology viva if you get the WBC estimation. Your professor can definitely ask you, give me 1 or 2 reasons. And a physiology professor is someone who's always interested in physiologic causes. So infection is something that always everyone can tell. But if you just give 1 or 2, you can be impressed and you have a chance of getting more marks. So that was the purpose of putting this question. So anyways, it's not a very must-know type of question. You can read it about in Hindu Purana. It has a list given, in conditions wherein you have the specific white blood cell counts increasing and decreasing. It's very well given. You can read. So I come to
And
the
even
end of my round. So I request that.
Then the reason why there will be neutrophilia in exercise. What can be the reason?
I guess that's
Anyone?
okay. I too don't know.
We are a bit crunched on time. We'll get to that aspect later. Let's move on to
Yeah,
the
sure.
next round, please.
And that's that.
Yeah.
I feel it's fine if they don't know that. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this round. I would request the others to continue. Thanks.
Siddhant?
Yeah, I'm there. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You can continue.
Okay. So now we have round 4, which is multiple true or false. The rules of the round are as follows. There will be 4 true or false questions for each finalist. They will be displayed on one slide and you have to answer them in the given sequence. Please note that the questions will not be read to you. You can pass a question and come back to it later within the allotted time. But once you attempt a question, you cannot change your answer. Next slide, please, Harsh. The total time to answer the 4 questions will be 1 minute, and you are requested to answer as follows. That is 1 true, 2 false, in that way, in the sequence given. And you will score 5 marks for each correct answer and 0 for incorrect answer. There are no negative markings for this round. Next slide. So this is a demo for you to understand how the round will proceed. Harsh, you can take over.
False, true, false,
Correct,
true.
correct, incorrect. So here we are taking some random statements just to demonstrate how the round will proceed. You can go to the next slide, Harsh.
Hello.
Yes.
So Prashant, you will note their answers.
yes, I am noting. And everyone is requested to please pick the number before saying true or false, right?
Yeah. So for
So
this
like
round,
in this case, you will be giving answers like 1 false, 2 true, 3 true, 4 false. Okay. So I guess it is clear.
okay, so we'll start with participant number 4, that is Pranay Sinha. Pranay, are you there?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay, next slide, please. Your time starts now.
First is false, then second is also false, third is true, and the fourth one is also false.
Okay,
The
Pranay, so
first,
you, I got the
please say
answers.
yeah.
So let's move on to the explanations. Before that, I'd like to tell you that you got 3 answers correct. That is the first, second, and the fourth one. The third one was incorrect. Okay. So coming to the explanations, it is a known fact that gastric carcinomas are common in the pre-pyloric region, which along the greater curvature of the stomach, while peptic ulcers are common along your lesser curvature. And then coming to the second question, in the nodal cells, the phase 0 is due to calcium influx through the L type of channels and not due to sodium. So it is not sodium influx everywhere in the heart that you guys need to know. The third one is a basic biochemistry fact that proteins are the polymers of L alpha amino acids and not D alpha amino acids. While in the electron transport chain, you have the electrons flowing from a redox pair with more negative potential to a more positive potential. And that's how your complexes are arranged in the membrane. So is it clear? Pranay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So next we'll move on to participant number 5, Aditi Gaikwad. Are you ready, Aditi?
Yeah.
Okay, next slide. Your time starts now.
Okay, first true, second false, uh, third true, and fourth false.
Okay, I got your answers. So you have two questions correct. That is the first and the third one, while the second and fourth were incorrect. Let's move on to the explanations, please. Okay, so this is experimentally done, and it was estimated by the Gildahl's method, which showed the average nitrogen content in proteins to be 16%. The second is a factual statement. Basically, you have the spleen, which is the most commonly injured organ when abdominal trauma is involved. The third was hyperkalemia, decreasing your heart rate. So what happens in a state of hyperkalemia is that the extracellular potassium inhibits your funny current. That is the inactivation of the funny sodium channels which are present, which would lead to bradycardia. And while Crigler-Najjar syndrome is not due to defect in biliverdin reductase, it is a defect in the hepatic enzyme UDP glucuronidase transferase. So I hope that is clear.
I want to confirm. I think fourth statement you said false, right?
Yeah, I said false.
So it means you have scored 3 questions correct: first, third, and fourth. Okay.
Okay, it was okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you will get plus 15.
Yeah. So both the participants have plus 15, right, Prashant?
Yes.
Okay. We'll move on to participant number 1, Konika Patel. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, next slide. Your time starts now.
First is true, second is true, third is false. I don't know. Not sure about fourth one.
Is the time up?
Yes, time up now.
Okay, so let's move on to the explanations. Okay, so the first statement was true, which you answered correctly. That is, TRH is the prolactin stimulatory factor, and this is a fact that you need to remember, which is asked most of the times in quizzes. Then coming to the second statement, that is, it is easier to perform incision below the umbilicus. It's because the linea alba becomes hairline thin. That is, the thickness increases below the umbilicus, so it is easier to put an incision there. The third statement, you need to know the inhibitors of the enzymes, and it was arsenite, which inhibits both the pyruvate dehydrogenase as well as your alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase complex. So the mechanism is basically arsenite binding to the thiol group, that is the SH groups of the lipoic acid, which makes it unavailable to serve as a cofactor for your reaction. And the last question was basically the table that you need to know of the non-protein amino acids. So you have cycloserine, which is used in treatment of tuberculosis or not cancer, while azacitidine is an anti-cancer drug. So after this round, you have the score of plus 10. Am I right, Prashant?
Yes. Yes. And can you please repeat the second question once? Harish, can you please take the questions left?
Hello. Yes, the second question is, it is easier to perform midline incision above umbilicus than below it, and it is a true statement.
Yes.
While explaining, Siddhant was probably here and there, but the explanation is linea alba is thick above umbilicus, thin below umbilicus, and it is easier to cut the thick line.
Yeah,
Is
so
it clear,
the
Prashant?
thinness decreases, so you can't perform, right?
Yes.
No, so question.
Yes, you can proceed, Siddhant. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry if I made any mistake. Please take the right explanation. I'm sorry. So now we move on to participant number 2, that is Maurya Patel. Maurya, are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Okay. So your time starts now.
So the third statement, third, is true. Fourth statement is also true. The second is also true.
Time up.
Okay. So Maurya, you got the fourth statement correct. Let's move on to the explanation. So Her's disease is a type 6 glycogen storage disease, which is due to a defect in your hepatic glycogen phosphorylase, while the McArdle's is type 5 glycogen storage disease, which is caused due to a defect in your muscle glycogen phosphorylase. Coming to our next statement, your type 1 muscle fibers are slow twitch fibers, while your type 2 are the fast twitch type of fibers. And in case of uncompetitive inhibition, need to remember that both Km and Vmax are lowered.
Okay.
Coming to the fourth statement, the distal part of tibia has less muscle attachments. So what happens is the blood supply is relatively less to that part, which is more severe due to trauma. So the fragments cannot be effectively opposed, and this may lead to non-union. So basically the definition of non-union you would get to know while you come in orthopedics, and you need to remember some examples if you can, like tibia, then you have the fracture neck of the femur, which goes into non-union. So that's that. After this round, you have a score of +5. Am I right, Prashant?
Yes. And I would request that don't jump to answer third or fourth statement. Answer in the sequence. You have to guess because there is no negative marking, so you can guess, but try to means you have to answer in sequence. Okay.
Yeah. So we move on to participant number 3, Dhya Mishra.
Yes,
Dhya, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, next slide. Your time starts now.
First true, second true, third true, fourth false.
Okay. So you got the first statement incorrect, while the other 3 were correct. Let's move on to the explanation. So you need to remember that it is not cilia, it is stereocilia which are present. And stereocilia are nothing but long microvilli. And they basically lack the 9+2 micro ultrastructure which your cilia possess. Then you have the next statement, which is dorsal deferens is a result of QT prolongation. And all of these stuff like hypokalemia, hypocalcemia, and hypomagnesemia can precipitate it in genetically susceptible individuals, while other triggers are specific drugs which cause your QT to prolong. Next, we have cyanate, sodium cyanate administration, which increases the affinity of oxygen and HBS, and thus lowers the formation of deoxy-HBS, which would prevent your sickling. Then among the monosaccharides, galactose is the most efficiently absorbed, followed by glucose and fructose. So this is the order of absorption that you need to know. It is better if you remember the order. So that gives you a score of plus 15 at the end of this round. Am I right, Prashant?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So that brings us to an end of this round with the participants. Let's move on to the audience round. Okay, so the audience would receive 4 statements as well, and you can write the question number along with the answer if it's true or false in the comment section. Your time starts now. Yes, Chirag, you're right. Varshini, I'm afraid that's incorrect. Romel, your first 2 statements were correct.
Time up.
Okay, so let's move on to the explanation. So what you need to know regarding the first question was Courvoisier's law. This is a law which basically states that in a patient with an enlarged gallbladder, the cause is unlikely to be gallstones, and therefore presumes the cause to be an external obstruction, like your pancreatic or a biliary neoplasm, unlike proven otherwise. This is a law which is, like, you can remember, and which is also mentioned in the Medicines Academy's post. So it is better if you go through those cases. Coming to a second question, it is not your levator ani alone, but your levator ani plus the coccygeus, which forms the pelvic diaphragm. Coming to third, this is a biochemistry practical question, that your biuret test is answered by compounds containing 2 or more peptide bonds. But histidine is an exception. It is the only amino acid which would give you a positive biuret test. And the fourth statement is a factual question, which is luciferase an enzyme used to detect the bacterial contamination. And I would suggest you to go through the table of the application of enzymes. Many MCQs can be asked from that as well. So that brings us to the end of round 4, multiple true or false. I request Harsh to take it forward.
Okay, so before we go to the final round, I want to know the scores of all the participants. So Prashant, can you tell?
Yes. And I would also like to tell, yes, Chirag and Varshini, you were correct that second statement was false. Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And moving to the scores. So again, Dhey Mishra is at the lead with a score of 35 points. Then at second position, Aditi Gaikwad with 25 points. In third position, we have Maurya Patel with 20 points. Then Pranay Sinha with 15 and Kunika Patel with plus 10 points. I would like to say, don't get disheartened. You all performed really very well. And now let's go to the rapid fire.
So yes, oh sorry. So I will first like to tell Kunika and Pranay that don't get discouraged, because you still have a chance to win Quizathon 1.0, because in this round you can get you can answer as many questions as you want if you can answer them. So basically, if you have what I call as the autonomous ultra quiz instinct, then you can really get very good score and surpass the leading participants in the final round and fetch the prize. So rules for the rapid fire round will be, that each participant will get 45 seconds to answer as many questions as he or she can. So in those 45 questions, if you answer 10 questions, good. If you answer 12 questions, good. So like that, you can answer as many as you want. Then each slide will show 4 questions, and it will be changed as soon as the last question is answered by you. If you don't know an answer, you can say pass and answer the next question. But when you are answering the questions, take care that you are following the sequence, because if you are not following the sequence, then you won't get marks, and in fact your marks will be deducted. So deal with each and every question on the slide in the same order they have been displayed. You cannot skip and jump to the next question. Is it crystal clear? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So the marking scheme for the final round or rapid fire round is that if you give a right answer, you will get +1 marks. If you pass, then you will get 0 marks. And if you give a wrong answer, then 0.5 marks will be deducted. Now the like ability to pass a question is allowed, like passing a question is allowed for maximum 3 consecutive times. So if I don't know answer of first question, I'll pass. I also don't know the answer of second question, I'll again pass. And if I also don't know the answer of third question, now I have 2 answers. I can say anything. If it is right, I'll get +1. If it is wrong, 0.5 marks will be deducted. Or I can pass. In that case, for the third consecutive pass, your 0.5 marks will be deducted and you can answer the next question. So is this clear? Any doubts? Hello?
Clear.
Okay. So just to be sure, I'll be giving you a demo. So I request Debayan to please unmute yourself and tell me if you're ready.
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
Okay. So let's start. Your questions will be displayed on the screen right now.
1, Uddhav Thackeray. 2, pass.
Correct.
3, 4.
Correct.
4, Kapil Dev.
Correct.
Pass. First Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru.
Correct.
Left-handers known as Orthodox.
Wrong.
Renowned book Gitanjali written by Rabindranath Tagore.
Correct.
Mother's Day, the 2nd of May.
Time up.
Okay. Correct.
And so I hope it's
Thank
clear
you.
now.
So
I've translated this.
like Prashant, was it audible rightly? There was no audio delay and any problem was there?
No, after
Hello, Prashant.
every question it was, yes, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes. So after every question it was not clearly audible. So we can follow the same rule like the true false.
Like what we did for true or false, so that there will be no problem
Yes.
due to audio delay. So
Yes.
guys, there's a little change. Understand this. You have to start answering the question in sequence. Deal with every question. If you want to say 1 answer, 2 answer, it is fine. Or even if you just answer in sequence, then be sure that you are answering rightly. Don't skip any question. And after your 45 seconds are over, I will tell you what was right and what was wrong. Is it clear? Hello.
And you don't
Okay.
need to repeat the question. You can directly say the question number and your answer. Like 3
Like you need
answer,
not read
4
the question. You can directly answer. It's fine.
Yes.
Even if you read, we are not going to deduct your marks. It's completely fine. But there is no need. Okay. So Mother's Day is today, if you know. So the participant number 5, are you ready?
Yes.
So your questions will be displayed on the slide right about now. Your time starts now.
First pass, second positive feedback, um, third red bag, fourth gastrophenic, fifth superior pancreaticoduodenal, seventh pass, eighth sulfosalicylic acid
Time up.
test.
Okay. So you have answered 3 questions correctly, and 2 questions were passed and 2 questions were answered incorrectly. So I'll tell you the answers to this much questions. So Wolff-Chaikoff effect is due to inhibition of sodium iodide cotransporter. You should read about this, like what is the effect, which explains why high iodine levels inhibit thyroid secretion, and what is the effect which explains why low iodine in the diet can affect thyroid secretion. And promotion of uterine contractions in delivery of the baby is example of which feedback system? You answered correctly, positive. Rubber gloves, red back, yes, you are correct. Then phrenicocholic ligament is the ligament which prevents the downward displacement of spleen, but you answered incorrectly as gastrosplenic ligament. So the other name for phrenicocholic ligament is the suspensory ligament of spleen. And do read also about the way in which spleen gets enlarged, because this is asked in physiology viva also, and anatomy people also like it. Then artery mostly responsible for hemorrhage in duodenal ulcer is gastroduodenal artery, and you answered superior pancreaticoduodenal artery. Now, what is Govus sign? So Govus sign is seen in Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Does anyone want to tell about Govus sign? Does anyone know? Any finalist? Hello. Okay. So Govus sign is seen in Duchenne muscular dystrophy, in which there is severe muscle weakness because there is a mutation in dystrophin gene, so there is no parallel transmission of force. Because of this, the patient cannot stand up without the need, without taking any support. So he starts to crawl on himself or herself to stand up. Okay. Then the bedside test for detection of proteins in urine is sulfosalicylic acid test, which was answered correctly. I guess we were up to this question only. We have come. So for next participant, I'll be moving to the next slide. As to participant number 5, you get +2 marks. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, +2 marks. Okay. Now moving to participant number 1. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
So we'll be moving to the next slide, and then your time will start as soon as the slide is displayed. So your time starts now.
First retrocecal, rectus femoris second,
Yes.
third sodium channels, fourth pass, pass, piriformis, pass,
Time up.
Pass.
Okay. So participant number 1, you have answered 3 and 1. So 4 questions correctly. So like most common position of retrocecal, yes, correct. Rectus femoris is the kicking muscle, correct. Sodium channels are inhibited by tetrodotoxin, which is if you remember from 11th standard, produced by dinoflagellist. Then heparan sulfate is the GAC present in glomerular basement membrane. So this
Could you
is
repeat that?
important
Could you
fact
please?
because it heparan sulfate.
Oh, okay.
So why this is important? Because heparan sulfate gives negative charge which repels albumin. So if you have a neutral protein whose size is about the same as albumin, it can actually get filtered to a significant amount. But because of the negative charge, which is because of many things present in the glomerular basement membrane, it is not filtered. So remember that GAC present in glomerular basement membrane is heparan sulfate. Then largest protein of human body which you passed is titin, and titin is involved in series transmission of force, and dystrophin, which was responsible for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, is involved in parallel transmission of force. So this titin protein is named because it is the largest protein, because titan means large. So from that the name is given titin. Pyrethromus, you
involved-
answered correctly. Now look
About Titan,
Hello?
like it is
It is
involved
involved in series transmission of force.
Okay.
Series transmission of force.
Got it. Thank you.
Then loop of Henle is derived from metanephric blastema. And the last question which is you passed is biphasic Vandenberg reaction. So biphasic means both conjugated and unconjugated levels are high. So it is seen in hepatic type of jaundice. So is our next participant, participant number 2, ready?
Yes,
Hello.
sir, I am ready.
Okay. Please don't call me sir. We can
Ready.
continue with the next question. Your time starts now.
First pass, second pass, sodium, Macondrate's ligament or transverse ligament, Macondrate's lateral transverse. The fibula, second pass, albumin, atrial flutter. Please next. Pass. That is the first question
Time
of
up.
this stage pass.
Okay. So in this question round, like Maurya, is it Maurya? Am I right?
Yes, Maurya.
Yes. So Maurya, you have answered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 questions correctly.
Okay.
So if we see the questions, the first questions which you passed was Trichorexis nodosa. So it is
in one of the mucopolysaccharidosis.
No, it is seen in a urea cycle disorder, which is argininosuccinic aciduria.
Okay.
So you will see a nodular hair in it. So you can see the photo later on by googling it. Then plasma volume expander is dextran. Ion responsible for rapid upstroke of action potential. You correctly answer sodium. Cardinal ligament of uterus is also called as McEnroe's ligament or transverse cervical ligament. And yes, excellent. You answered it correctly. Then a law of ossification is violated by bone fibula. Then a prolactin inhibiting factor. So earlier in the quiz we had a prolactin.
Dopamine, right?
Yes, prolactin inhibiting factor is dopamine.
Dopamine is derived from tryptophan. Sorry.
No, it is derived from tyrosine.
Tyrosine.
Yeah. Okay. So we have discussed prolactin stimulating factor, which is nothing but TRH, and prolactin inhibiting factor is dopamine. So remember this. Then albumin you answered correctly, and atrial flutter. Great, you answered that
Sorted.
correctly too. Yeah. Then mutation in calcium ATPase can result in Brodys myopathy. So it is again a muscle weakness disorder in which SARCA1, which is sarcoplasmic endoplasmic reticular calcium ATPase, is defective. So as to the three questions which will be discarded, hemorrhoidal vein is the other name of superior mesenteric
Superior
vein.
rectal.
Mooney landmark palpated for pudendal nerve block
Ischial
is
spine.
ischial tuberosity. Spine may or may not get palpated. Like first you palpate tuberosity and then you can get an idea. Okay, then color of vacutainer used while blood collection for estimation of glucose is gray vacutainer, and it has fluorine in it. So because of the fluorine enzyme enolase is inhibited. So you should remember that also, very common Viva question. So we can start with the next participant. Are you ready?
Skip the next slide. It was visible for a second.
Yeah, okay, I'll skip it. No problem.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
And Harsh, also be a bit quick regarding changing the slide.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So there you can continue.
Hyperthyroidism.
Yes, correct.
Pass.
Your mic is off there.
Third pass. GAG presented strong. क्या था? Pass. Ribozyme. Phosphate क्या था?
Time up.
Okay. So the first question, which was hyperthyroidism, you answered correctly. Very good. You get +1 for that. Then the second question, dash ion can make heart stop in systole, which is calcium. You answered correctly. Ligamentum flavum. Do you know where ligamentum flavum is present? There.
No. I don't remember.
It is present between the laminae of vertebrae. So that is in there to allow partial movement, and we have basically elastin fibers present in ligamentum flavum. So this was asked because of for microanatomy purposes, like elastin fibers are present where. So elastic cartilage, and one another example is ligamentum flavum. Then GAG present in stroma of cornea. So keratin sulfate is the GAG which is present in stroma of cornea, which gives transparency to it. So then the next, you answered ribozyme correctly, and this is the third question that you answered. So you are getting 3 marks. Then lipase is the enzyme which is diagnostic of pancreatitis. So a word of caution: don't answer as amylase, because only amylase is also an enzyme secreted by salivary gland. So be specific. Answer always lipase for this question. Then muscle involved in assuming palsy posture is sartorius, and membrane receptor whose peptide passes 7 times is GPCR.
Serpentine.
So is the participant? Yeah. So is the participant number 4 ready?
Yeah. Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah. And Prashant, you are keeping the tally of marks, right? Because I am repeating each and every answer.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. So I am not again.
Yes, you are audible, and I am keeping the score.
Yeah. Okay. So Pranay, is it Pranay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Pranay,
Yeah.
you are ready. So I'll change the slide, and your time will start at that instant.
Okay. Yeah. First one is growth hormone. Then second is PAS. Then third is metaphase. Then fourth one is ventricular systole. Ventricular systole, yes. Next slide. PAS. Second is glycine. Then third PAS. Fourth is iliofemoral ligament. Next slide. PAS.
Time.
Okay, okay. So you answered well. We'll see. Any one hormone secreted by acidophilic cells of pituitary. So you had answered.
Growth hormone.
What had you answered?
I had answered growth hormone.
Growth hormone. So you are right. Yeah. So other hormone will be prolactin. So remember, growth hormone and prolactin are twin hormones, and you will find many similarities in them. Okay. Then glomus cells are derived from. So glomus cells which are present in peripheral chemoreceptors, they are derived from neural crest cells. So you should remember the derivatives of neural crest cells very well. And there is also one mnemonic for that with all the college names. So you can use that also. Then metaphase, which is correct. So here also you can remember like 2-2-2. Like in secondary oocyte, it is the second phase and second meiotic division where where it gets arrested. And for primary oocyte, it is prophase, which is the first phase of first meiotic division. And in that to diploty. Now mitral wall closes at the start of, you said systole, but I wanted a
I said ventricular systole.
Proper answer.
I said ventricular systole.
Yeah, ventricular systole. So, yeah. So, but you could have been a little specific. Like you could have answered isovolumic contraction phase or isovolumic phase.
Okay.
Yeah. Like when I'm because of that I added the word phase, because we generally don't speak like systole phase. Okay. So I can't give you that. I'm really sorry. Then the avascular plane of kidney is defined by Brodell's line. So you will see in Vishram Singh that there are some segments based on vasculature of kidney, and a line is drawn on the kidney which is called as Brodell's line. Okay, so then amino acid which doesn't show any optical activity, as you rightly answered, is glycine. Then muscle fibers are more abundant in gastrocnemius compared to soleus. So remember, this is a common Viva question. Red fibers or slow twitch fibers or type 1 fibers are more abundant in gastrocnemius. Okay, and the last question you answered, like the third one was passed, last was answered. Yeah, iliofemoral. So Prashant, from this slide, he has answered two questions: glycine and iliofemoral ligament of Bigelow. And from the earlier side, he has answered two questions: growth hormone and metaphase. And you have to deduct the 1 mark for ventricular systole.
Yes,
Are you clear, Prashant?
I will have to deduct. So
yeah, 0.5. Sorry.
Clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you score plus 3.5 for this round.
Yeah. So this was just displayed, so I'll tell in short. Most common site to find splenicula is hilum of spleen. So splenicula are accessory splenic tissues. Then gastrulation takes place in week number 3. Anyone wants to take for question number 3? Any takers? Hello.
Is it proportional to the root
6
of the
into...
Yeah, but what is that factor?
6 or something. I don't
How
remember.
much?
Yeah, 6 something.
6 something.
6. Correct. 6.
Correct.
You have to multiply by 6. You have to take the diameter and multiply by 6. So diameter will be measured in microns, and when you multiply it by 6, you get speed in meters per second. Okay. Then which wave is produced in JVP during diastolic filling? So that is V wave. So all these questions are common Viva questions. So we will provide these to you. But right now, due to lack of time, we'll go to the parent slide, the roadmap. So Prashant, what is the status of scores?
Yes, so the scores have been calculated, and before revealing our winners, I would like to tell something about the pound system, and we will have the round which I had created for, which means for the tie breaking system. But since there is no tie, so I will use that round as the audience round, and even the finalists can answer. So I will start with introduction to pounds. Next slide, please. So as this was our first Quizathon finale, so we have tried to kept it as a simple round. But in many good quizzes, there is a concept of pounds. So what actually it is that now, as you have seen, in every round, there is one participant which has to. But in pound system, what we can do is that every other finalist, as well as the person who has been given the opportunity to speak, they both can send a private message to the quiz master within the first 15 seconds. Suppose if you know the answer of any question which has been asked to any other participant, and if you send the correct answer on a private message, suppose in this case we don't have the Zoom, but so here there is no option for private message, so we can use a private message on WhatsApp. If we are conducting on a Zoom, we can send a private message on Zoom itself. And within the first 15 seconds, if you get the correct answer, if you send the correct answer, then you will get plus 15 marks. But if your pounds is incorrect, you will get minus 10. So the twist here is that if it is a normal round, you will get plus 10 or 0. And it is only for the person who is speaking, who is allowed to speak turn-wise. But in the pound system, every finalist can answer and can try for that extra 5 marks. Very wise.
Prashant, your voice is
on pouncing. This is the rule.
But here
If
it
we know
says
the
that
answer,
that -5 for incorrect answer to
like,
the one who is
I'll
verbally.
tell in simple words. If I am a contestant and Amay is another contestant, and question is asked to me. So ideally, in normal quiz, if pouncing is not there, only I can get points for that question. But now, when pouncing is there, what Amay can do is, when I am thinking on that question and trying to answer it, he can DM the quiz master and get points for my question also. If I answer that correctly, I'll also get my points. But answering to others' question can give 5 extra points, like 15 marks will be given. But when you are pouncing, you risk negative 5 marks. Okay.
I am get
to
that.
whom are we
Harsh,
supposed to?
Hello.
Yeah, I get. What I'm
Yeah,
asking
yeah.
is here it is
So-
written you will get plus 10 for correct, 0 for not answering, and -5 for incorrect. So this is for the one who
Yeah.
is on the video, right? This is for like
Yeah.
let's say you are answering and you
Yes,
go
yes.
incorrect, you get -5, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm asking.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
So what I was saying is that you can pounce for your question also. Suppose if there is an easy question and you know the answer in the first 15 seconds only, yes, then you can pounce your question also, so that you will not lose that extra 5 points. Okay. We'll start with the first 5 participants. We will give each question, and audience can also participate in the chat box. Okay. And you can DM me in the first 15 seconds if you know the answer. Okay.
So Kshitij, I would like to tell you that you have to keep the timer for 1 minute, and you have to say after 15 seconds that pounds time is up. Okay.
Okay, Prashant.
Okay.
So
Just
is
because
this will be
Prashant,
Yes.
one
So
minute.
as the,
Just because
yes,
Prashant's
yes.
audio was not there, I'll be repeating what is going to happen. So like first question will be given to participant number 1. Then he will be given 1 minute to answer the question. But if participant number 2, 3 or 4 know the answer to this question, they can go in WhatsApp and directly message Prashant what is the answer in the first 15 seconds. Okay. Is it clear, participants?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. And again, if you are pouncing, then you risk negative. And will the person who is answering the question also risk negative, like what we have written here in the rule?
If the person is pouncing,
so
if be it be the person himself who has been given the chance to speak, but if he is pouncing or if he or she is pouncing and if it is incorrect, he or she will get -10.
So like when you unmute and speak, you don't have a risk of incorrect answer. But if you are a participant and question is asked to you, and instead of unmuting, you answer it on direct message, then there are two options. Either you will get +10 or your marks will be deducted. Is it clear now?
+15. +15. Yes.
Yeah, +15 or your marks will be deducted.
What you said. Could you please repeat what you said just now?
Yeah, okay. So like you will get the question number 1 with participant number 1, Kunika. So you will get the first question. If you know the answer and you are confident enough, then you have two options. First is to unmute yourself and speak the answer. In that case, you don't risk any negatives. But instead of unmute,
and we request the audience also to participate in this round. You can put your answers in the chat box as well.
Yeah, in the chat box, and you can also DM in the first 15 seconds if you got the answer. Okay, so we can proceed. So we will give first question to participant 1, Kunika. Are you ready, Kunika?
Yeah.
So yes, your time starts now. You have to connect these images and tell the defective enzymes.
What am I supposed to do?
You have to, means the 4 images are displayed. You have to link them. You have to think and tell what can be the defective enzyme.
Pounce time up.
Okay. So it's alkaptonuria and the enzyme defective is homosynthesis oxidase.
Yes, you are correct. And we have also got one pounce in the chat box by Leeladhar. So yes, very good. And I have also yes. So that is good. You are correct.
Guys,
Would you like to explain?
Try to do pouncing on DM only, even audience, because the answer is visible to the person. Okay. So is the second participant ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah. Yes, you have to connect these images and identify the disorder. Your time starts.
Pounce time up. Is the disease Wilson's disease?
No.
Okay.
Anyone wants to guess? In the chat box or any other parties, any other finalists? Okay. Then I will explain you. So this is the case of homocystinuria. Another important case can be Marfan syndrome. But here you have to remember that in Marfan syndrome also there is anterior lenticonus, means the eye defect, which you can see here. There is aortic dissection, so the heart defect and autosomal recessive. But here you have to remember that here the picture is of Abraham Lincoln. Then there is the
I guess Amar, you only explain. We'll check the connection.
Okay, so see, the question is of homocystinuria. Basically, as he explained to you before, he unfortunately lost connection. It depends, differentiating it from Marfan's depends on the direction of dislocation of the lens. So posterior and anterior dislocation is an important clue in this case. And apart from that, as you can see, Abraham has explained. I am really sorry for the technical errors from our side, but as he has explained this question partially regarding the difference between Marfan syndrome and hyperhomocystinemia, the difference lies in the direction of dislocation of the lens. And as you can see, the image of Abraham Lincoln, that's a confusing point because Abraham Lincoln was said to be Marfanoid as well, but he had hyperhomocystinemia as well. As you can see, the third image is of a person suffering from a heart attack, which, as he explained again, I don't know whether it was audible, but homocysteine is linked with the increased levels of aggregation of the LDL cholesterol, which in turn can predispose the person suffering from the disease to an incident of myocardial infarction. Lastly, you can see the pattern of inheritance, which is autosomal recessive. So I think with that we have answered the explanation part of this question. Harsh, please go by. Please go to the next question. Participant number 3, Deya, are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, your time starts now.
Galactosemia.
Yes, excellent. Would you like to explain the images?
Galactose intolerance. Cloudy eye, claudocornea. Yeah, hepatomegaly maybe.
Yeah, and the third image is showing a measurement of blood glucose. There is hypoglycemia. Remember that in galactosemia. Now, why does hypoglycemia occur and how is that linked to liver hepatomegaly? Basically, there is accumulation of galactose 1-phosphate because, as you may know, the defect is in the enzyme galactose 1-phosphate uridyl transferase, right? So, because of that, there is accumulation of galactose 1-phosphate, which is known to inhibit glycogenolysis. So, because of that, it leads to accumulation of glycogen in the liver, which can cause hepatomegaly. And because there is no glycogenolysis, the blood glucose levels can't be maintained, hence there is hypoglycemia. So, good one there. Participant number 4, Pranav.
Just a correction, it's not cornea which is cloudy, it is the lens.
Yeah.
It has got a cataract.
Yes,
So
oil
if you-
drop cataract.
Yeah, very
Yes,
good.
are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, your time starts now.
Bounce time up. Time up.
Okay. So, Aditi, can you take a guess? Is she in the meeting? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you just take a guess?
No, I'm not sure.
Is it
Okay,
acute
so yeah.
intermittent porphyria?
Yeah, very good. So, how did you come to that?
The first picture is of King Edward VII, who reportedly suffered from
George
this.
III.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
George III.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
why America got independent. Then the second image is of that porphyrian rings form. Third is that in antidepressant drugs, when we take it, the symptoms are alleviated. And fourth is abdominal cramps, which is one of the symptoms.
Yeah, very good. So, as you correctly said, the first image is of King George III. He was a known sufferer from this disease, and it is due to this disease and probably due to those actions that America got independence. Correct. Second is a porphyrin nucleus. Third is antibiotics. Certain antibiotics like sulfonamide are known to precipitate AIP. Fourth image is acute abdominal tenderness, which most patients of AIP tend to present with. Can you tell the deficient enzyme in AIP?
ALA synthase is absent.
Acute
No,
intermittent porphyria.
I think Euro.
No, sorry,
one is absent.
uroporphyrinogen synthase 1.
Okay, good. So I think Harsh, with that we have concluded this round.
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, लेकिन सबको concept समझा ना self pounce versus normal pounce का. Self pounce is when
that was the purpose. Yeah.
And normal pounce is when round is of someone else and you are pouncing the answer within 15 seconds. So both are there, self pounce as well as normal pounce. Okay?
Yeah.
And वो exercise वाला किसी को याद आया क्या answer? Why neutrophilia occurs? Just this last question. Any guesses?
पारस बता दे, अभी ज्यादा वक्त मत गवा उसमें.
You know ना कि वो marginal maybe margins में भी WBCs होते हैं. So when you exercise, that marginal WBCs also come in circulation, causing the neutrophilia and other increase in WBC.
Especially in the pulmonary vasculature, like WBCs are hanging with holding the wall. So when you start exercising, that marginal pool of WBCs comes in circulation. So you see neutrophilia. This is very, very commonly asked in Viva. So I guess we are clear with everything. If there is any doubt, we'll discuss it later on. Now I guess it is time to tell who the winner of Quizathon 1.0 is. So Prashant, are you there?
Yes, and hope now I am audible.
Yes, you are perfectly audible. Let's go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So, the result is we have calculated the scores. So, starting with the third position, Maurya Patel with a score of 25 points. Then second position, Aditi Gaikwad, 27 points. And first position, Dhey Mishra with 38 points. And with 18.5 points, Pranay Sinha is at fourth position, and at fifth place, Kunika Patel with a score of 14 points. So congratulations to everyone, and you did a really good job. And I would like to say that these ranks and scores, they don't matter. What matters is your participation, and you did a really good job of qualifying to the finals.
Okay, so we'll be concluding the session shortly. I would like to give you some key takeaways from Quizathon 1.0. That is, your performance at that moment in any quiz, your performance at that moment matters the most. Because many times you know the answer, but वहाँ पे याद ही नहीं आता या फिर blank हो जाते. So be sure that your head is calm when you are giving any quiz. And in a particular quiz, application of knowledge is also important, and memory is also important. So guys, quizzing is fun, and you can enjoy, you will enjoy in fact when you will give many quizzes. Okay, thank you. Prashant, anything else you want to say, or
yes,
other question types you wanted to tell, right?
Yes, and we have planned that from the further quizathons, we will include fill in the blanks type questions, crosswords, and just like these image based questions, these will come in from the next quizathons. And the questions like the fill in the blanks or typing, so there would be some special rules, like in the Google form, while you are typing, you have to type the answer in whole block letters and the correct spelling. Okay, so these some new questions we will add from the next quizathons. Okay, so that's fine, Harsh. Yes.
Thank you everyone, and thank you to entire academic club for this entire quizathon. It was really fun.
Yeah,
So
this
thank you
quiz
for
was really
Yeah, we
organizing
have
interesting.
to
all
thank
the
a lot
Thank
seniors,
all
you.
the seniors.
all the
Yeah.
doubts up till now, all the quizathon was fun, and the academic group as well as fun. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for all the effort, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we also thank you for
Thank you.
participating in the quiz. And I would also like to thank all the quiz masters, especially Harsh and the Kshitij. The timekeeping is a very tough job, right? You have to be alert and be looking at the watch and say time up or pounce time up. Yes, so he did a very good job behind the background. So that should be
Thank you,
acknowledged.
Prashant.
And yes, this whole PPT, which has more than 150 slides. So, and it took Harsh like many nights, and he spent almost 2 to 3 days doing this work. He invested his Saturday and Sundays, where he means we all used to study, but he invested this time for you guys in making such a good PPT, right? We
Thank you
were
so
we
much
were
for
thought we were
Yeah,
that, and
thank
thinking
I'm
you
it
sure
so
was
we
much
would
like
take a
boring
lot
PPT of
more.
PPT was
just
for
real
all
but
your
nice.
work.
yes, but Harsh did a
Yeah,
very good job
And
of
I am
linking
sure we
and
would.
yes.
I'm sure we would take a lot more
thank you
nights to
so
solve
much.
the 150 slides. It was a really great job. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And we're
thank you so
looking
much for all
forward
the
for the
effort.
second quizathon also.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for
Yeah,
all the effort you all
thank
took
you
for
so
us.